Ever since I started talking about whether or not you should get characters during their reruns, there's been one character in particular that I've been kind of bracing for impact, and that is of course the Raiden Shogun, or as I like to call her, A. We're here with A and Masanori. Here's the thing. The almighty Narukami Ogosho, God of Thunder, is in my opinion the closest we have to a must-pull character for 3 very simple reasons. Number 1, she's hot. Need I say more? Number 2, she does a lot of damage, and number 3, she batteries the entire team, thus making every single one of her teams probably the easiest teams to play in the game. So, I'm going to show off 3 teams that I like with the Raiden Shogun. The first one is going to be called the Raiden Inquisition. This is a team that I have been playing pretty much since 2.5, really, when Miko came out. And it is a team that features some of the hottest Inazumans in the game. So if you're into Japanese ladies, this is the team for you. Big slash. There we go. And then, even though Masanori is blocking a lot of the damage, as you can see, we can basically really just go pound town on Masanori like so. And then the second rotation just continues on and on and on. And then obviously if Masanori stayed alive, we would then be doing another big slash with the Raiden Shogun. Now, this team is a lot easier to play if you happen to have C1 Miko, because Miko's energy is pretty insane with her 90 cost burst. So just keep that in mind. It does get a lot better if you happen to have C1 Miko. But if you don't have C1 Miko, then it's still perfectly fine. You just won't be ulting every other rotation. That's basically it. Now, there has been a team that has been gaining quite a bit of popularity within the Raiden mains community. And it's a team that I don't think has an official name, so I've been calling it the Raiden Just Fuck Kill Them Already team. Because it really is a team where you kind of just set everything up so that Raiden can just fuck kill them. It's a team that's definitely gained a lot more popularity with Frida, because it means that Jean not only gives you a lot of normal attack speed if you happen to have C2 Jean, I believe, but then on top of that, you can also just do that big team healing, which is a lot better with someone like Farina on the team. Let's do that big heal, and then just fuck kill them already, etc, etc. So this team has been gaining a lot of popularity because it seems like in some Raiden Shogun speedruns, this one might be really, really fast, especially with the current Abyss, with the whole double Pyro Abyss Lecter shenanigans, and pretty much any Abyss where you would come across Pyro shields and Pyro enemies. Oh yeah, this team just completely slaps really, really hard. Some of the most meta comps in the game are the national team comps. And they are essentially Shangling Vape comps. So we have a few variations. We have Sucrose National, we have International, and a couple of others as well. So the big question often gets asked, which national team is the best national team? If you go with calcs and simulations and all that jazz, one could argue that Sucrose National is the best national team, I believe for single target, don't quote me on that, whilst International is the stronger team for AoE content. I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but what I do know for a fact is that the reality of the situation is that all the other national teams are actually unplayable. There's only one really playable national team in the game, and that is, of course, Rational, also known as Raiden National. We're here with Masanori and Rational. And the reason for this is very simple. In the other national teams, at some point, you run into the problem of having to deal with Shangling's insane ER requirements, and the only way to actually deal with it with Shangling's insane ER requirements is to basically battery her with Bennett, which implies playing on-field Bennett. And playing on-field Bennett is the very definition of Dies of Cringe. That is basically something that I would not even wish on my worst enemies. But with Rational, you only need to see Bennett on field for a whopping 2 seconds, because there is a 2-second window before you can swap out of Bennett. So Rational has the least Bennett uptime, thus making it the best national team. And so, with that, we do in fact have even more reasons for you to get the Raiden Shogun. She is very, very strong in battering Xiangling's insane ER requirements. There's also one other team that exists with A. It's the Hyperbloom team with the Raiden Shogun. The idea is to use her skill as a Hyperbloom trigger. You basically use her skill and then you never see her again until you need to use her skill again when it inevitably runs out of time. This team is very effective, and in a lot of demonstrations and simulations and calculations, it is a very, very strong team. There's just one problem though. This team is heresy of the highest order. So just keep that in mind. Now, there's 1,000 Raiden Shogun builds out there on the internet, including this one, so I'm just going to TLDR a lot of these details because we can really simplify it. So, when it comes to the weapons that you're using on A, there's really only two weapons to think about. It's either the catch or engulfing lightning. Basically, the general rule of thumb is stick with the catch. Now, if you happen to want to use the catch on someone else, like Xiangling or apparently Rosaria, then go for engulfing lightning. I didn't have that many 5-star spears, so I went for engulfing lightning. If you do, however, actually want to go for engulfing lightning, but you want to make it all, primo efficient and all that jazz, apparently going for her Constellations is better than going for engulfing lightning, at least up to C3, so just keep that in mind. Now, for some reason, the Akasha leaderboards also include Staff of Scarlet Sands, but if you look at the Staff of Scarlet Sands passive, it's kind of meaningless on A, unless you're playing quick in A, I guess. For the most part, Staff of Scarlet Sands is more of a crit rate stat stick that happens to be a 5-star weapon as well. In my opinion, you might as well stick with something like Deathmatch. That's probably just easier to get if you're a Battle Pass player at least. If you're a filthy fucking heretic, then you can use Dragon's Bane. That's basically how that works out. Now, in terms of artifacts, the artifact set that you're going to be using on A is the Emblem of Seven Fates. That's it. In terms of the artifact stats, however, it does get a little bit confusing because it depends on which weapon you're using, it depends on your team a little bit. Generally speaking, ER attack crit is really good if you're playing the catch. You could potentially go attack crit as well if you're playing the catch. If you have an Electro Cup that ends up being better, then stick with that as well. Obviously, you have Masanori. Test your different builds out against Masanori, see which one does better. If you're running Engulfing, apparently running ER Electro Crit is the better option, mainly because Engulfing gives you a lot of attack through the ER conversion, meaning having ER instead of attack is generally better, and thus having Electro over attack is generally better. Otherwise, if you don't have an Electro Cup that is fun to use, because it doesn't have any crit stats, let's say, then ER attack crit is absolutely perfectly fine. And if you're into Heresy, Gilded or Paradise Lost is the way to go. Full EM builds. Wow. Okay. Cool. Now, in terms of A's Constellations, and this is going to be a bit of a hot take coming from me, but I've been seeing this sentiment thrown around that A isn't good or worth it without Constellation 2. That is complete nonsense. I have been playing C0A. And I have been loving playing C0A. My C0A has been nothing short of just incredibly strong. So no, you absolutely do not need Constellations for the Raiden Shogun to feel good to use or feel great to play, because she is right from the bat. Okay? So, with that out of the way, do you need to get A's Constellations? No. But here's the thing. You probably want to get C6 Sara, because Sara only shows up on A's banners. There's a good to fair chance you're going to end up getting A's Constellations while you try to get C6 Sara. Or maybe Yoimiya Constellations, but I don't have Yoimiya, I'm not going to comment on that. So, assuming you are going for C6 Sara on A's banner, well, let's just talk about A's Constellations. Let's talk about C1. I have not come across a single team that I like playing where C1 would be even remotely useful. Every team that I play with A, I tend to end up getting full resolve stacks pretty easily. So, yeah. The other teams where I don't get full resolve stacks necessarily, because I'm playing with Nahida, for example, I don't tend to have other Electro characters, so that doesn't help. C2, on the other hand, is of course the big dick defense ignore constellation, often cited as the constellation that makes A do 3 billion damage. And then C3 is the usual stopping point because it's ult levels, so that's really, really good. And at that point, if you want to go even further, then the general recommendation is to consider getting Engulfing Lightning. C4 is nice, I guess, for some team setups, but otherwise it's a whole lot of whatever. It's essentially some extra attack. Could be useful for Rational, I guess, but only for like the second rotation afterwards. And then C6 apparently makes Sarah better to play because it helps with Sarah's ult cooldown. In my opinion, it doesn't matter. I've never really come across a team with A and Sarah where I run into a problem of Sarah's cooldown being too long. So that's never been an issue for me. It might even be the case with A and Xiangling. But again, the few times that I play Rational, I've never come across an issue with cooldowns. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If there's any character that I would impress the idea that you absolutely should get them, it's the Raiden Shogun. Only in A's teams would I ever feel comfortable playing off-field Lisa. Otherwise, I always would rather play on-field Lisa. And only with A, at the present moment at least, does playing DPS the higher at least feel playable. Even if the damage is not necessarily massively high, at least with A being the battery for the higher afterwards, and also doing a lot of damage as well, the higher does feel like someone that I can play in a DPS sense by being able to use her ult off cooldown. So that's, of course, really, really good. Let me know about all of this in the comments below. How do you feel about the Raiden Shogun, the almighty Narukami Ogosho God of Thunder? Let me know in the comments, what are your favorite Raiden Shogun teams that aren't Rational? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed. So if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Genshin Impact action, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.